recording. All right. So you can see the video. You can understand what I'm trying to say with radar. You might also know what is a radar. Does anyone know the full form of radar? No. Radio detection and ranging, or the radio detection and range. So both detection and the range are the result of a radar. That is the major principle of radar. All right. Moving forward, you can see below also I've written the principle of operation. What is that? Echo and searchlight principle. Now with this video, you can understand what is echo. Okay. I shout in the mountain ranges, I get a echo back. That is an example of echo. Searchlight principle is what? Just like your viewer, I showed you a lighthouse that was rotating, and wherever the lighthouse came back, that was the presence of that aircraft. So these two are the major principles of radar. So this gives a good introduction about radar, which we're going to study. If you see the ATC, if you ever go to the ATC tower, someplace where the air traffic controllers are sitting, you will see this big screen. That is a radar. They keep on monitoring the aircrafts on this particular radar so that to maintain the separation, so that any accident does not happen and everything. So the aircrafts these days also have a small radar system, okay, where they can also see the other aircrafts. That is why this is a really important thing to study. Radar stands for radio detection and ranging, as I told you. It is used by ground-based radars for separation, navigation of aircraft, as well as airborne systems for weather and navigation. So even the weather can be depicted from such things or radar. That is the value of radar. What the type? See, the primary radar is one of the types of radar. Now, primary means what? That the same thing which I'm speaking or the same radio wave which I'm sending out is coming back to me. So this is a primary radar. It uses pulses of radio energy reflected from the target. It uses only one frequency throughout. Okay. So basic example of radar, primary radar is what? Your sonar. Okay. That is the primary example. You can see this video. What is happening here? This tower gives off a signal and the aircraft reflects it back to the tower. It maintains the time, and whenever the time gets over, that is where you find the aircraft's distance. And that is how you find the distance of the aircraft. Because what is the formula for distance? Distance is equal to speed into time. Am I right? Right? So if my distance is d, can I say this is 2d? So speed is given to us. What is speed? Speed is speed of light, which is c. So what I'm left with? Time. So if I know the time that it came back, I will calculate the distance from this. That is how we calculate the distance of an object using a radar, a primary radar. Then we have a secondary radar. Now this is an interesting one also. This is a newer version and updated version of radar in which we use two different sets of frequencies. Okay, one frequency is used to transmit, that is sent off the signal. The second frequency is used to receive, or there are two different sets of transmitters. You can also look like that. It looks like this. Okay, there is one, the ground-based, okay, that is sending out the red waves. The aircraft is transponding, or the aircraft is sending off the blue signals. So both of them are transmitting different frequencies, and this is known as secondary radar. There are two things here. One is the interrogator, the second is the transponder. What is transponder, interrogator? We'll discuss that in the separate chapter of your secondary radar. All right. Why are we learning the radar? What are the applications? Air traffic controllers, as we discussed, they have the screen. Okay, it provides the radar talk down to the given runway. There are different types of radars on the basis of application as well. If I talk about the application, we have the surveillance radar approach, which has a different chapter already. This is the surveillance radar approach or the precision approach radar. Now, PAR is quite similar to something we just studied in the last chapter, ILS. Okay, precision approach radar provides us the the distance left for touchdown. That is the radar. Radar's principle is what? Providing us a distance and the bearing. Or in simple words, the searchlight principle and the echo. Then we have the air ground navigation systems radar. What are these? SSR or secondary surveillance radar. As I told you, there is an example of secondary radar. Surveillance secondary radar is an application of that type of radar, which is your surveillance radar. Okay. If you look at this is used by the ATC for passing on the information regarding the aircraft's call sign, altitude, speed, track, and all. So just now we understood that the primary radar has a singular use. What is that? It will give off the radio wave and that radio wave will come back. So it will determine the distance. But in a secondary radar, what happens is what we have benefits. We have different benefits. We can know the aircraft's call sign, altitude, speed, track, all these things are benefits. That is why this is a modern development. Then we have the DME. DME has been, I think you have heard this from the VOR chapter itself, and you actually didn't know this is an application of radar. The distance, wherever the distance word is used, you should understand it is based on what? It is based on radars. Distance measuring equipment is the full form of DME, and it provides the pilots with slant ranges from a ground-based receiver transmitter known as transponder. I'm not going to in details with all of them. Why? Because they have their own chapters in this book. We'll be discussing one by one all these chapters. You can see the DME here. Okay. DME provides you what? It provides you the slant distance. How will you calculate the slant distance? Pythagoras theorem. You have, let's say here, okay, this is 5. This is 24,500 feet. That equals to 4 nautical miles. Why? Because we know 1 nautical mile is 6080 feet. Okay, simply do the math. This is 4, this is 5. How much will be this? Root of 41. Okay, so you can do the math. Okay, this is a Pythagoras theorem. I don't have to remind you what's that. Then we finally have the third type. It is used in the airborne weather radar. Okay, now as the word suggests, a weather radar, it will give you what? It will give you signals where the presence of rain particles or water vapor, water particles are present. So wherever the water particles are present, with the help of radar, the radar is so sensitive that it is able to give you what? It is able to give you the water particles signal back to you, giving an indication that there are a lot of water particles. So avoid that area. That is how we use the airborne weather radar. Again, this has its own chapter in our book, so we'll discuss that. You can see this. Okay, this is the nose of the aircraft, and if you lift this, you will find this beautiful thing, this antenna. Can someone tell me the use of this?
Receiving signals.
Okay, receiving signal. Chinmay, Supesh, what?
GPWS.
No. Anyone? Anything else? It is the airborne weather radar. Okay. Now, of course, radar has a principle that it will send off signal and it will receive. So, Chinmay, you are partially correct, but this is the airborne weather radar. And you see this area? This area is known as radome. Okay. Now you will understand why people say that the nose of the aircraft is really sensitive. Because other than the aircraft's fuselage that is made of steel, alloys, aluminium, etc., this part is made of synthetics or composites. Why? Because you need to understand, if my AWR or my airborne weather radar is present inside, then I need to send off a signal, then only I will receive it. So if this is made of metal, it will have its own reflection, so it cannot have that. That is why this is made of composites. We'll understand that in the chapter airborne radar. I just wanted to make sense what I'm teaching you. This is the shape of a radar on board the aircraft. Okay, and we'll discuss more about it in the chapter. Radars have their own frequencies. Okay, we discussed in the first chapter, there are a lot many frequency bands. Radar comes in what? In high frequencies, in the VHF and above. And why do radars want high frequency? Because of the accuracy. Okay, and of course they have their own advantages. These frequencies are free from external noise and static. That is why we had VOR preferable more than NDB. The same reason that VOR has a higher frequency in use, and that excludes the static errors. The shorter wavelengths produce narrow, efficient beams for target discrimination or sensitivity, as I told you. In simple words, sensitive, accurate. These are the things which I'm looking for. Okay. The shorter wavelengths can produce shorter pulses. Now I'll introduce you to a new term known as pulses. These are not your pulses that you eat. That is different. These pulses are, if I say short burst, okay. If you hold your breath and you blow out in 1 second all of the breath, that is a pulse. Okay. Or if you have any time done any sort of those artificial air purifiers or anything that, so you inhale some amount of that and you leave it. Best example is hookah. If you had any hookah or something, that is the best example of pulses. So you take inhale and you put it out. That is the thing radars work on. They save some energy and then pulse it out, and pulses they keep on throwing. That is a pulse. We'll discuss more about it in the chapter. So again, we have this beautiful example, just trying to tell you that the higher frequency is what we're targeting on. Okay, that is what we're talking upon in this case of radars. You'll never find an application radar having a low frequency. So let's come to the pulse technique itself. As I discussed with you that what's a pulse, the primary and the secondary radar, which are the two types of radar, both use a pulse technique. Okay, both of the radars are using the pulse technique, which is the transmission of radio energy in very short bursts. Each burst of energy is in a pulse form of a predetermined shape. Of course, we are sending out the signal, so we should know which type of a shape we are sending out. The duration of the pulse is equal to the pulse length or width. Now I'll tell you what I'm talking about. See, what I'm talking about, the pulse. This is a short duration of burst or a pulse. Okay. This is the width of the pulse. That means that how much amount of breath I sent out in my one moment. This is the pulse width. And what is pulse recurrence? If you know the meaning of recurrence, it means repeating itself. Okay. So when it started, this is my start, and the second one started, this is my start. So if I take the distance, this distance is known as pulse recurrence period or pulse recurrence interval. PRI, PRP. Both the things are same. Pulse recurrence interval, pulse recurrence period. Both mean the same. When is the next burst going to start? When is the next pulse going to start? We'll take this more into depth. It is a time interval between two pulses. PRF is the number of pulses per second. Now, I just told you what is PRI, pulse recurrence interval. If I take the reciprocal, I will find what? PRF. Why? If you remember, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, nothing.
Okay. So I was just saying that if you remember in the chapter frequency, the formula for frequency was simple. It is inversely proportional to time. The same thing is here. If you see, PRF is inversely proportional to PRI. Okay. So it is nothing. This is what? This is time. This is what? Frequency. So it makes sense that our fundamentals are strong. So I will remember that frequency is inversely proportional to time. So here also we will have them inversely proportional. That simply means that if my PRI, pulse recurrence interval, is more, that means less number of frequencies are present. Or if my PRI is less, that the interval between two frequencies is less, that means the PRF is more. Simple. You can see in this case, okay, this is the pulse width, okay, this is the recurrence period or time, PRT, the pulse recurrence time also, same thing as I told you. This is the RT, this is the recurrence time between one stop and one start. Now, as I told you, the formula itself is here. Okay. Just to give example, if the PRF is given 250 PPS. Now, what is PPS? You can see here number of pulses in 1 second or pulse per second. Now, this is a normal question I'm asking you. If the pulse recurrence frequency is 250 pulse per second, then what is a PRI? I have got the formula. So what I'll do is I'll just simply write it 1 by 250. So I'll get what? I'll get the time. So time unit is, see this is pulse per second. So if I have, let's say 10 to power minus 3. So I get 3 zeros here. So I get 4 into 10 to power minus 3 seconds. So this is our answer. So every pulse repeats itself in this short amount of time. So I don't relate this with the mouth example which I told you, because I am able to hold my breath and then I have to send it out. These are radar. These are electric circuits. They are sending in milli microseconds, and we don't even notice. Is everyone clear up to this point? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay. Good. So that's what I've written here. Okay. The time here is written in mu. Okay, because mu is the unit of microseconds of mu. Okay, whatever this thing is, you see the seconds are displayed. So this is the PRI. That is the interval in which the frequency has built in. We'll use this mu from now onwards. Okay. All right. This is the same diagram. You can see this example over here, right? What I have is, this is known as rest time. Why rest time? As I gave the example of a mouth, I'm inhaling, so this is my rest time. I'm trying to rest and gather the energy to breathe out. That is the same thing with radars. Now this period could be small because it is a circuit. So you can see here, this is my pulse width. Okay, this is my transmitter giving out a pulse width. This will go here, reach the aircraft, then come back. This silent period is nothing. It is what? It is the rest time. Why? Why is this rest time required? Can anyone tell me what is this and why is this required?
So it is the time in which the wave is reflected from the surface.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So rest time is required so that if any object is present nearby only. Okay. If I keep on sending one by one all these, I will not even. So what is the use of this radar? Okay, I'll just give you from scratch. What is the use of radar? It sends out a wave and it waits for it to come back. Then only it will decide the distance, right? If I keep on sending one by one the rays, and I will never differentiate between the comeback signals. And if I never differentiate between them, I will never know the distance. So what is the point of having a radar if it does not have a rest time? Okay, that is the use of rest time. You can see here, I'm calculating my rest time. This is all my rest time, where I'm not transmitting anything. I stopped, I'm waiting for the signal. I sent out the signal, I stopped, let the signals come back. All right. So we come to the distance measurement. Okay, we had two principles. One was echo principle and the second is searchlight. We are focusing on them now. The first principle was echo. Okay, I have already explained you the same thing, the same video. The distance to be covered is, you need to remember, one way is distance d. The second way, we have to come back also. So total distance is always 2 times d. All right. So the maximum range is calculated on the basis of PRI or PRF. Okay. So what is the formula? I just told you, range or distance is equal to speed of light into time, right? The distance is 2 times. So I'll write it 2d. So range is equal to, okay, or distance is equal to c by 2. Now time is what? It is 1 by PRF. I found the answer. Always go to the fundamentals and get the answer. Okay, so this implies that distance is equal to c by 2 1 by PRF. And this is the maximum range. That is, the minimum range will depend on what? The pulse width. Why? If you go back one slide, okay, you see this is my pulse width. Okay, what will happen is, if any object is present just here, let's say the pulse width is this much, what will happen is we will get returns in this only. So we will never get to know whether an object is present or not. So this is the minimum range, the pulse width. Why? Again, I'll explain you. If an object is present really close, it will not give the radar a time, the rest period. If the rest period is not present, then we will never know if an object even is present. Okay. All right. So here we have the minimum range also. The minimum range value will be also the same. We know that distance is equal to speed into time. Okay. Now distance is what? It is range. Now again, it is 2 times. So C by 2. Time is what? Time is equal to the pulse length. Finally, we have one more formula for range. We have already discussed somewhat like this. Okay. If I write the formula, it is in the terms of power. Okay. This is not 4, it is power. Okay. 1 by 4. This is clear. Okay. Best radars are the ones with narrow beam width and short pulse length. You understand why, I think, right? What will happen to the narrow beam widths? They will have more accurate sendings and comebacks. Okay. If I have a narrow signal, I can have more range. Remember the tube light example, right? We have 2 flashlights. One is the phone flashlight, which is very broad. It cannot go far. But if we use a torch or a tube or light, okay, it goes very far because of the beam length. Or your car example. Okay. The best radars are the ones with narrow beam and shorter pulse length. Why shorter pulse length? Because the minimum range will be less. Okay, minimum range is directly proportional to pulse length. So if an aircraft is present here, we want that signal to also come. Okay, that is the reason. Sure. Theoretically, maximum range and PRF. You can see with this video that the radar sends off unlimited signals in all the directions. Okay, the returns it will get, that will be modified and present in the screen. That is how the radar works. So maximum theoretical range is defined by PRF, minimum is defined by the pulse length. Okay, and the aircraft height and aircraft radar define the theoretical range. Okay, we just discussed this in the LOS, I think, line of sight. So please don't forget ever this value. Why? Because we can have unlimited variables, right? Might be in the question they give you just the height, then how will you calculate with those formulas? So you need this formula also. So we've got formula with respect to power, height, pulse length, and PRI. So we have got 4 formulas for the same thing, for the range, minimum and maximum both. Right?
Sir, the previous formula was different from the range of the others, right?
Which one? This one?
No, no, sir, not this one. The previous, right? Ah, yes. This formula is different, na?
Same. This bracket I've left. Okay.
Sir, but it was in between plus, right? It is root of height of transmitter plus root of height of.
Yeah. That's an error. I think that's an error. It will be the same LOS. So maximum theoretical height is defined by what? Okay, I'll just correct it. Thank you for reminding. So maximum LOS always remains the same. Okay. So if you have this is the answer. Okay. There is no other formula for radio waves. Na? First chapter, what we learned, the radio waves, and we are using what? Radio waves. So you can't expect any other formula.
No, I saw that plus was missing, so I thought that is different.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. No problem. Sure. Then we see again our chapter 2 is being revised, right? Super refraction, sub refraction, ducting, all these things have been taught to you. Super refraction is a phenomena which increases the theoretical range, right? Then we have the restoration time or rest time. Now, what will happen with the rest time? It is a design factor that affects the time taken for a receiver to recover to normal after transmission has occurred. Or in simple terms, it takes time to recover, to gain the energy, to send out the signal again. The reasons are why any object closer than 150 meters would reflect a pulse that could not be received as the transmitter will still be transmitting. Two objects in line 150 meters or less apart would appear as a single letter. So what is it saying? I just told you this, but I'll just make you understand with this diagram again. I send off a signal. Okay. If a tower is present here within 150 meters, I will get signals back instantly. I don't even have time to get restored. So how will I accept the signals? Okay. I'm really tired. Okay. I'm just really tired of sending out the signals. So how will I listen to someone else? That is the example you can hear. The second thing is, suppose that I am sending out signals. Okay. And one after one, there are two objects present simultaneously. Okay. This has been used in world wars rapidly, frequently. If these two have less than 150 meters of distance, then the radar will show them as one. Okay. If you watch the documentary of a Pearl Harbor, you will see the same thing done by the Japanese. All right. As a result, if a short range operation is required for a target resolution accuracy, short pulses are used. Example, these. Okay. So what is it saying? That if you want more accurate results, if you don't want this to happen, what can you use? You can use short pulse or short pulses that will have less RT, which is your restoration time. Sure. Okay. You can see the same example. Okay. I have repeated here so that you have an idea what I'm talking about. If this distance,
will the pulse width always be the same of a
no
radar?
No.
No, right?
No. Okay. It is variable to the frequency, to the modulation, number of factors. Okay. Let's come to the primary radars once more. Okay. We're just discussing what you learned today. The pulses are concentrated into a beam and dimensions. The beam uses echo principle, which is sending a signal, letting it to come back. Then we have the searchlight principle, which indicates the bearing and height. Searchlight is like your lighthouse. Remember that. Okay. This is a scanning pattern. So you can see it is scanning like a lighthouse. Wherever the aircraft and object appears, they have a highlight or a dot. And the echo principle will give us a distance. So both the bearing and the distance is used. You must have seen this in tons of movies, right? And alien movies and all. This is really popular. This is actually a radar. Altogether, this is the radar. The transmitter and receiver share the same antenna. The reflected pulses are very weak due to the double journey. You need to understand one thing if you don't know. Primary radars, we don't require anything on the aircraft. Okay, this is present on the ground. The ATC are using this. So what will they do? They will just switch it on. They will know the position of the aircraft. So as a training aircraft, trainers or pilots which will be flying as a training, you won't be having radars on board, okay? Because these are really costly on an aircraft. The ATC towers which you will be communicating with, those will have radars. They will keep on monitoring you. Sure. Then we will be discussing this MTI. What is this? This is known as moving target indication. This is a very, very recent development. I mean, for us as a chapter, we are proceeding, right? Well, we started with NDB, then VOR, then ILS. This is a recent development. Now, with the help of the full form itself, moving target indication, can someone tell me what is this?
Know the speed of the moving object or something.
No, speed nahi pata chalega. No. Anything else?
So it's made for the ground detection of aircraft.
Yeah. So till now we just saw in the previous screen that the object was standing still or it was present, but we don't know if the object is moving or not. If the object is moving, then how should we detect it? How should we find it out? This is moving target indication, and this is used on airports. Why? Because on airports, cars, the setups or the whatever the base, parking bays, the airport itself is stationary. What is moving? The aircrafts are moving. The vehicles which are transporting some people, those are moving. And this is very important for the air traffic controllers. They need to monitor the vehicles as well. So they need something to monitor the moving things or the moving targets. Okay. How do they do this? They do this by this. If you see this, they have a huge radar. They have this huge radar that keeps on sending signals in all the direction. How? This will keep on rotating and it will send out the signals. And this will form a picture. This will keep on forming a picture and it will blur out all the areas which are remaining still for a particular time. So when all the things are set on a picture and anything moves, that will be displayed on the screen. You can see this has been displayed on the screen. See, this is moving. Everything has been remained constant. Wherever there is a movement, it is depicted on a screen. That is how the MTI works. And the surveillance radar equipment is the same. Okay, we are surveilling the same thing. We are using these things on only airports. You don't see them used in your big air routes or, you know, like a VOR, it is not used. It is just used in the airports or your terminal areas. Okay. Then we will discuss the types of antennas. Okay. You can see the types of antennas. This is a parabolic antenna. This must be present in your, if you go up to your rooftop, there will be a huge number of antennas, dish antennas. That is the same thing. But you can see the size. This is a kite. I have just placed a kite with respect to this. You can see the size of a parabolic antenna. Imagine the amount of accuracy this has. The disadvantage is it had side lobes. I think you know what are lobes now. I don't have to explain you what are lobes. So this will have a lot of losses. That is why it has less range in comparison to the other antennas. Okay. Directivity produces unwanted lateral lobes. So we have an improvement. What is the improvement? Slotted antennas. If you see, this is another type of antenna. It keeps on spinning and it keeps on giving the. In this, we have slots. If you see, I'll show you. It has slots. Okay, it does not have a picture. We'll show you. What happens is it has a number of slots like this. If you remember AWR, right? I'll show you AWR that had the slotted antenna. Yeah. If you see this, there are really small slots. Okay. This is also an antenna. You remember I told you this is a radar. So this is also
Yes, sir.
This is known as slotted antenna. It has small slots in which the radio waves go outside. Whereas the parabolic, it does not have. Okay. That is how this becomes more efficient. It has less side lobes, less power is required, narrow pulses, better resolution, and better range. All are the advantages. You can aim at a signal in one direction also. Okay. These are,
Sir,
yeah,
what is the system called?
these are slotted antennas. Okay. So this
And what is the rotating speed?
that is variable according to the need. So suppose that you are using for terminal, okay, we'll be having a higher speed. Maybe for long ranges, we require less speed. It depends. Okay. I have a chapter on this. So we'll have, I think on that we have a, I think, all right.
Okay, sir.
So remember these things, okay? Half dipole, half dipole and quarter dipole. Now, what is dipole of an area? You need to understand that it has a particular length, okay? This lambda, if you remember, this is what? Wavelength, okay? So the areal's length of how much it can transmit the wavelength, that is dependent on this. Remember the first chapter, if we had a frequency of like 10 hertz, remember the amount of wavelength. If you want to calculate the wavelength, what is the formula? Speed is equal to distance upon time. So time goes up, this is frequency. So if I have a 10 hertz frequency, 3 into 10 to power 8 divided by 10. So I get 3 into 10 to power 7 meters. That is what? 3 into 10 to power 4 kilometer of lambda. So my lambda is 3 into 10 to power 4 kilometer. So just imagine to send off a 10 hertz frequency, non-modulated frequency, I need 3 into 10 to power 4 divided by 2 kilometers of a aerial. Okay. So as I told you, it comes on different modules, different frequencies are transmitted on different areas. That is why the frequency is fixed for a particular wavelength or an antenna. All right. Sure. Lastly, we'll discuss and summarize what we learned today. Primary versus secondary radar. Primary has these many applications. One by one, we will go through, so no need to worry. First is precision approach radar, just similar to your ILS, not giving your precision system, but it's a non-precision system. AWR, weather radar. Radar giving you altitude, radio altimeter or radar altimeter. ASMI, now this is where Sarthak, this is where you will get your moving indicator. Okay. EGPWS, very interesting topic. Okay, this will give you a ground proximity range. How much are you above the ground when you are coming up for landing and all? Secondary radars have simpler applications. DME, distance measuring equipment. TCAS, what is this? Traffic collision avoidance system. Okay, it's a part of regulations, but of course we'll have a short before that. Okay, traffic avoiding. So you can avoid traffic with the help of this. Then we have the SSR, which is the secondary surveillance radar. Okay. So these are the application. This is also present in the notes. You can go ahead and look into it. And finally, you can see what we're going to learn. Okay. Sure. Let's discuss about ground radar before we end today's lecture. Ground radar is simple. It is present on the ground, and the airport surface movement radar is one of the examples. You can see this. This is, if you ever visit Delhi or Mumbai airport, I mean, not inside, go outside, you'll find this present on the airport and it is spinning rapidly spinning. This is present for the surface movement, to record the surface movement. Just like your moving target indicator, this is also the same. It provides very accurate radar display in all weathers of the aerodrome infrastructure, vehicular, traffic, aircraft that are stationary, taxiing and landing by the use of MTI. Okay. Now, as I told you, Sarthak, this is a variable, how much it is spinning. Processing can remove selected fixed features, leaving targets on the runway clearly visible. So this is your, see, spinning here. This is your ASMR or your MTI. MTI is the principle, ASMR is the application. Okay, MTI, moving target indicator. Or this. Okay, see, these two are different sets of aerials. Okay, you need to understand this. Both are different sets of antennas. Here, there is a combination. If you see the top one on the right one is the same. It's almost same. Okay, but below we have something known as radar, primary radar. Why is a primary radar attached below? To measure the distance also. So this is a combination of primary and secondary radar, which we'll be discussing later. Both giving us bearing and your distance. Whereas on the left one, we just will have an indication of where is this particular movement happening. Other features are like this. On your air traffic controller's display, you can have ground radars, which will be giving you indication of aircrafts like this. Okay, all the aircraft will be given indications like this. Ground radars have a very high accuracy. Why? Because they don't have to travel a lot of distance. They just have to cover the distance of the airport. A very narrow beam in order of this. What is this degrees? The lambda. Scanner rotation is 60 rpm. See, the ground radar has a scanner rotation of 60 rpm. This is fixed for ground radars. PRF, these values you don't have to memorize. Okay, please don't memorize this. You'll be wasting your time. It's just present there because it was present in the books. Frequencies are all not required. Ranges could be used here. Okay. Other ground radars are such as ASR, terminal radar. If you see, all these are just different words of the same thing. These are used in area or a particular area. The terminal services are used in the terminal. So in different parts of the world, the different terminologies are used. And these are all what? These are all ground radars. And this will be present with the ATC tower or the tower. You can see this is the tower. It will have all the aircraft on its screen. Sure. Any questions about today?
So can you show the previous slide?
Okay.
Sir, is rotation rate of every radar different, right?
Yes. So these are
What
ground
would be the
radars.
rotation rate of the ground radars?
So it's written right, 60 RPM.
But you told it spins very fast.
60 rotations per minute is fast, right? I think it's 2 rotations per second. No, 1 rotation per
Okay.
second. So it is fast relatively. Yeah. So see this one, no? This is fast only. Okay. So this is also fast, I think. I mean, if you want to look at the perspective of the millisecond, microsecond, then it is not fast. But of course, it is fast. Yes.
I am unable to understand the derivation
Which derivation?
of the formula.
Which formula?
PRF.
Acha. Anyone else has a doubt in that?
No, sir.
Good. Lakshmi not here. Sakshi? All right. Chinmay and Rupesh?
So I did not get what did he ask.
He's asking the derivation of PRF. How is the formula derived?
You can explain, so I will listen.
Okay, Rupesh. Okay. So tell me, Sarthak, I'll only ask you. How do you derive the formula of frequency? How would you derive the formula of frequency? No idea?
You are asking me
Yeah, Sarthak, I'm asking you.
frequency equal to time by present.
No. Tell me, how do you derive the formula? चलो बेसिक से स्टार्ट करते हैं. We start from basics. Speed is distance upon time. We'll come to class 6 now. Okay. Now when we have speed is equal to distance upon time, I have told you all my radio waves travel with the speed of light, which is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. So instead of speed, I will keep on writing c. Now I know distance. Distance in this term, frequency and all, is known as lambda. So distance I will write as lambda, which is wavelength. Let's remain time here. We always remember frequency's definition is what? Pulses per second. Okay. So this becomes f is equal to 1 by time. So this is time. This is how we derive, this is how we derive the formula for frequency. Now let it remain same. In our example, distance is what? For any radar, distance is what? This is my radar. This is my aircraft. So what is the distance? If I say d is my total distance, what is the range? How to calculate the range? It is twice. I am going and the same thing is coming back. So it becomes 2 times. Okay. So instead of distance, I will write here 2d. Okay. So if I write 2d instead of distance, can I write instead of lambda, c is equal to 2 times distance into frequency? Right? Can I write this? So c by 2 into 1 by f is equal to distance or my range. Now f is what in our radars? F is what? PRF. So instead of that, just replace this PRF. Okay. Sure. Anything else? Perfect. So you guys can have your chill time and start studying, because we're going to have a test, and whoever does not pass in that, then they can have their own lectures recorded. I'm going to teach them because it's really simple now. Okay, chalo, keep studying. Give me questions. Sarthak, I'll get back to you on your questions, whatever you were having them, and